You need $1 million in cash myth has cost more corporate professionals their shot at business ownership than any economic downturn in history. Let's bury it. In this video, I'm walking you through the 4 legitimate funding paths I see corporate professionals actually use to buy a franchise: SBA loans, ROBs, using your 401k rollover, without penalty, HELOCs, and private lenders, with the honest pros and cons of each and how to know which one actually fits your situation. Quick note before we dive in, I'm a franchise consultant, not a financial advisor. Everything in this video is educational, so definitely talk to a CPA before structuring anything. Okay, before we get into the 4 paths, let's talk about why this myth has been so hard to kill. Here's where the $1 million number comes from. You go to a franchise website, you click on one of their concepts, you scroll down to the FAQ section, and there it is. Total investment ranges from $400,000 to $750,000. You look at that number, you look at your savings account, and you close the tab. That's the part the industry is not great at explaining. The total investment number is the entire build-out cost of a franchise location. It includes real estate or the lease, the construction, the equipment, the initial inventory, the marketing launch budget, the working capital for the first 90 days, all of it. It's not the check you have to write. It's the total amount of money it takes to get fully operational and open a location and get it running for the first few months. And that money gets sourced from multiple places, most of it financed, not paid in cash. The actual cash you need to bring to the table is much smaller, and it has a name. Let's talk about the number that actually matters. The number that actually matters is your liquid capital. Liquid capital is the money you could access in 30 days without selling something at a loss or pulling money out of your retirement account. For most franchise concepts I work with, the liquid capital requirement is somewhere between $50,000 to $150,000. Yes, the total investment might be $400,000 to $750,000, but the liquid you actually have to bring is $50,000 to $150,000, and the rest can be financed across 4 paths we're about to walk through. 2 more terms worth defining really quick. Net worth. Net worth is your home equity, your retirement, your investments, minus liabilities. Lenders look at net worth as a measure of whether you can absorb risk. And total investment is what we talk about, the full build out and cost. Liquid is what you bring. Net worth is what proves you can afford to bring it. Total investment is what gets built with all of it combined. Okay, now that we have the language, let's walk through the 4 paths. Starting with the common one. Path 1, SBA loans. SBA stands for Small Business Administration. It's a government agency that doesn't actually lend you money. They guarantee the loan, so a regular bank or SBA preferred lender feels safer extending it to you. That guarantee is what makes the loan possible for a lot of people. Without it, banks typically wouldn't lend to first-time business owners. With it, they will. Here's how it usually works for franchise financing. You apply for what's called an SBA 7A loan. The bank evaluates your credit, your liquid capital, your net worth, your experience. If you're approved, you put down somewhere between 10 to 30% of the total investment. That's where your liquid capital comes in, and the SBA-backed loan covers the rest. The loan term is typically between 7 to 10 years. Who is this for? Candidates with strong credit, some operational experience, even if it's a W-2 corporate experience, and the patience to wait through underwriting. The honest pros: lower interest rates than non-SBA business loans, long terms, which keeps your monthly payment manageable, lower down payments than you'd see on a conventional commercial loan. And the honest cons: it's slow. SBA underwriting typically takes between 60 to 120 days. The paperwork is significant: tax returns, personal financial statements, business projections, and it requires a personal guarantee, which means if the business does not succeed, you're personally responsible for the debt. This is a path most franchisees use. Probably 50 to 60% of the candidates I work with end up funded through SBA. It's the default for a reason. It's accessible, the math usually works, and the lender ecosystem is mature. What slows it down is 2 things: your credit and how clean your paperwork is. If both are tight, you can be funded inside 60 days. If either is messy, expect closer to 90 to 120 days. Okay, path 1 is done. Path 2 is the one most candidates don't even know is an option. And once they hear about it, it's usually the one they ask the most questions about. Path 2 is ROBS. It stands for Rollover Business Startups. This is the path most people have never heard of. And when they hear about it, they assume it must be some kind of loophole or some shady tax move. It isn't. It's been a legitimate IRS recognized structure since 1974. Here's what it does. It allows you to use money you already have in a 401k or traditional IRA to fund a business without taking the money out as an early withdrawal and without triggering the 10% penalty or the income tax you'd normally pay. How does it do that? Through a specific corporate structure. You set up a C corporation. The C corporation creates a retirement plan. Your existing 401k or IRA rolls over into that new retirement plan, tax-free, the way any retirement rollover works. And then the retirement plan inside the C corporation purchases stock in the C corporation. That stock purchase capitalizes the business. The end result is that you've taken money that was in your retirement account, moved it into a business you own, and you've done it without taxes and without penalties. Now, this has to be set up by a qualified ROBS provider. It is not something you should try to structure on your own. The IRS has specific rules about how the corporation has to be organized, how the retirement plan has to be administered, and how the business has to be operated for the structure to remain compliant. A qualified provider handles all of that, and most charge a setup fee of a few $1,000s plus an ongoing annual administration fee. The honest pros is no debt. You're not borrowing money. You're investing your own retirement money into a business you own. No interest payments, no personal guarantee in the SBA sends, and no taxes or penalties if the structure is correct. The honest cons is your retirement is at risk if the business fails. That's the real one. Most discussions of ROBS gloss over this. I'm not going to. If you use ROBS and your franchise doesn't succeed, you have lost retirement money you'd otherwise have been protected from losing. That doesn't mean a ROBS is wrong. It means ROBS is a more aggressive funding path, and it requires more conviction in the brand you've selected. Who is this for? Candidates with $50,000 or more in retirement accounts who would otherwise either drain savings or take on SBA debt and who have done enough validation work on their brand of choice to feel confident. Just a quick reminder, I'm a franchise consultant, definitely not a CPA. Every candidate considering ROBS should talk to a qualified CPA before structuring it. The tax mechanics matter and they're specific to your situation. Okay, path 2 is the one that surprises most people. Path 3 is the one that's most familiar, but the trade-off is the most significant. Path 3 is a HELOC, home equity line of credit. This one most people understand because they've heard about HELOCs in the context of home improvement, not business ownership. But the structure is identical. You're borrowing against equity in your home, and you can use that money for whatever you decide, including funding a franchise. How it works. Your home is worth X. You owe Y on your mortgage. The difference between X and Y is your equity. A HELOC lets you borrow against that equity up to a certain percentage, typically between 80 to 90% of the total home value, minus what you still owe. So if your home is worth $500,000 and your mortgage is $200,000, you have $300,000 in equity. A bank might extend you a HELOC of up to $200,000, depending on your credit, your income, and the bank's specific underwriting standards. What I like about HELOCs for franchise funding is the speed and the flexibility. Most HELOCs can be done as needed. So if your total franchise investment is $200,000, but you only need $50,000 for the down payment and another $50,000 for the build out, you can draw the $100,000 and leave the rest of the line untouched until you need it. You only pay interest on what you've drawn. The honest pros: fast access compared to SBA. Lower interest rates than most personal loans, flexible draw, and HELOCs are often tax deductible if the funds are used for business purposes. Though again, talk to your CPA on that. The honest cons: your home is the collateral. That is the real one. If the business doesn't succeed and you can't service the line, your home is at risk. This isn't a hypothetical. Banks foreclose on HELOCs defaults the same way they foreclose on missed mortgage payments. Who is this for? Candidates with significant home equity, stable household incomes, and a low debt business model, meaning a franchise where the cash flow ramp is reasonably predictable. HELOCs work less well for franchise concepts where the path to profitability is long or volatile because you're carrying the cost, the line against your home the whole time. Path 4 is private lenders. This is the simplest of the four because it doesn't involve a structure or a bank. It's just money that already exists deployed into a franchise. 3 flavors here. 1, personal savings. Self-explanatory, money you have in your regular savings or brokerage account that you've decided to allocate to a business. 2, family or friend loans. This works for some candidates. It absolutely doesn't work for others. My only advice here is to treat it like any other loan. Written terms, defined repayment schedule, signed by both parties. because the moment the loan isn't in writing, you've turned a financial transaction into a relationship problem waiting to happen. 3 is equity partners. This is where someone with capital invests alongside you in exchange for an ownership stake in the franchise. This is more common for higher investment concepts where the total cost exceeds what one person wants to bring alone. Think multi-unit franchise deals, anchor restaurant concepts, that kind of thing. For equity partners specifically, get a real operating agreement drafted by a real business attorney. This is not a handshake situation. Equity partnerships that don't have a clear operating agreement at the start become legal disputes later. Always spend the few $1,000s to do this right. Who is path 4 for? Candidates who already have liquid capital and want to avoid debt entirely, or candidates with trusted partners who want to share both the investment and the operational responsibility. Okay, all 4 paths covered. Let's get practical. How do you actually know which one fits you? Here are the 5 questions I walk every candidate through to figure out which path or combination of the paths makes sense for them. Question 1, what's your credit score? If it's above 720, every path is open to you. If it's between 680 to 720, you're SBA eligible but with less favorable terms. Below 680, SBA gets harder and ROBs or HELOCs or cash become more important options. Question 2, how much you have in retirement. If it's under 50K, ROBs probably isn't worth the setup cost. If it's 50K to $200,000, it becomes a real option. Above 200K, ROBs becomes one of the strongest options because the setup cost amortizes against a larger asset. Question 3, what's your home equity situation? If you have at least 100K in equity and stable income, HELOC becomes a real option. If you have less or your income is volatile, HELOC carries a lot of risk. Question 4, what's your timeline? If you need to be open in 4 months, SBA's 60 to 120-day window may not work. ROBs and HELOCs are faster, cash is faster. Match the path to the timeline. Question 5, what's your risk tolerance? Specifically, where is the risk you're least comfortable carrying? If you can't sleep at night thinking about your home being collateral, HELOC is wrong for you. If you can't tolerate the idea of putting retirement money at risk, ROBs is wrong for you. Match the path to where your nervous system can actually go. Here's the answer that surprises most candidates. For most people, 2 of the 4 paths actually fit. The question isn't which one can I do, it's which 2 are open to me and which one of the 2 is the better fit for the specific brand I'm considering. Most candidates qualify for at least 2 paths, most never check. If you walk into a lender meeting tomorrow, here's what they're actually evaluating. Knowing these 5 things changes how you show up. 1, liquid capital, not net worth. Not home equity, liquid. Money you can access in 30 days. For most franchise concepts, lenders want to see 20 to 30% of the total investment in liquid. 2, net worth. This is separate from liquid. Net worth signals you can absorb risk. Most franchise lenders look for at least 1.5 times the total investment in net worth. 3, credit score. 680 is the soft floor for most SBA-backed franchise financing. 720 and above unlocks the best results. 720 and above unlocks the best terms. Below 680 doesn't mean you're out. It means fewer options and possibly a co-signer. 4, industry relevant experience. Lenders aren't looking for franchise experience. They're looking for operational experience. People who've managed P&Ls, people who've owned decisions you've made under pressure. Your corporate resume is more valuable here than you think. And 5, and this is the one that most candidates don't see coming, a coherent story. Why this brand? Why this market? Why now? Why you? The candidates who can answer those 4 questions in 2 sentences each walk into lender conversations and out with approval. The ones who can't walk out without it. Run through those 5 before you ever take a lender meeting. The conversation gets dramatically easier. Okay, that's it. That's the breakdown. Let me close with what to do next. If you made it this far, one of 3 things just happened in your head. 1, you now know franchise ownership is genuinely possible for you, and your liquid capital number is closer to reality than you thought. The link to book a free 30-minute call is in the description. No pitch, just a conversation about your specific situation and which of the 4 paths makes sense for you. 2, you now know franchise ownership isn't the right financial fit for you right now, and that's also a win. You've saved yourself 6 months of researching brands you couldn't yet support. The clarity is the gift. 3, you're somewhere in the middle. You're not sure yet. Subscribe to the channel. We do one of these every week. Over time, the picture gets clearer and the discovery call link is there when you're ready. One more thing, and this is important. I'm a franchise consultant, not a financial advisor, not a CPA, and not a lender. Everything in this video is educational. The specific numbers I mentioned, the 680 credit floor, the 20 to 30% liquid range, those are industry standards and estimates based on brands and lenders I work with. Your specific situation needs a qualified CPA and possibly a qualified ROPS provider before you structure anything. Talk to a CPA, talk to a lender, talk to me, in that order. I'm Melinda. This is the Franchise Studio. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.